Morning, Bob. Oh. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Listen, if you've been around for a minute, you know that I've changed things up about 1001 times on my channel. So this is 1002. I miss it. I took a little break. And now I would like to return to, what do I want to return to? I miss the tutorial style, okay? I miss doing tutorials, showing you guys how to do things, and I miss the comments that are like, oh my god, thank you so much for showing me how to do this. I made a rug and my mom loved it so much that she cried and it was her birthday. I miss those comments. I miss that. So we're just gonna jump straight into it, and I'm gonna show you my long pile tufting machine. There we go. My long pile tufting machine. Check her out. All right, y'all. This is the Big Daddy long pile tufting machine. It's not really called the Big Daddy. We just call it that on my stream. Anyway, this is the High Pile AK Duo, or when I bought it, it was called the Extra Long Pile AK Duo. And it has such a large gear because the cut pile height is adjustable between 30 millimeters and 45. And my machine is also a duo machine, which means it can go between cut pile and loop pile, but I do not think all long pile machines are duo machines. Anyway, look how tall this guy is. 18 inches. So big. And I also weighed it because it's heavy. And you might say, Heather, 3.7 pounds isn't very heavy. Well, come back to me after several hours of tufting with this thing. I also laid it down, and for some reason, it went to 3.9. So, you know what? 3.9 pounds, 4 pounds. So now on to why it's even called long pile in the first place. So the pile height for the long pile machine is between 30 millimeters and 45 millimeters versus what a regular tufting machine pile height is, which is 7 millimeters to 18 millimeters. So pretty long, and when I measured it, it's like nearly 2 inches versus the regular pile, which is super short. So now that you know a little bit more about what a long pile tufting machine is, we're going to jump into making something, and we're going to make something that I've actually never done before. I've definitely used the long pile machine before, but I've done it only when I make a rug that has certain sections that are like 3D using the long pile machine. What I've never done before is made an entirely 3D or like an entirely long pile rug where the entire thing is super shaggy, super long, super fluff. So in traditional Artsymadwoman fashion, we're gonna do something together that I've never done before. And what better design to do an entirely 3D design for than a bubble? A bubble! It originally, let me be honest with you, it originally wasn't going to be a bubble. But chat on Twitch said it looks like a bubble, and now it's a bubble. All these tufting machines have very long, which is great, very long wires, but they get so tangled. It's all right because you kind of need them to be long so that you can do a dance all around your room with them. Another thing about long pile tufting, since it is long pile, you're gonna need basically like double the yarn that you would normally need. From the regular pile length to long pile, basically doubled. So you're gonna need a lot of yarn. All right, so with all of that, we are going to get started. All right, so like with any tufting machine, you're gonna want to start by pushing the tip of the machine into the fabric all the way until the foot, which is this like U piece here, is right up against the fabric. And with the long pile machine, there's a lot more kickback to it. So you do kind of have to put more pressure when you're pushing it in than a regular tufting machine or regular pile tufting machine. Listen, I know, okay, I'm so sorry. I know it was freaking loud, but I wanted to just give you an example of what it sounds like because in most of my videos and like most of my tufting content, I lower the volume quite a bit. So I wanted to give you a realistic example of what this machine sounds like because it's very loud. But from here on out, I am going to lower the volume. So here are some slow-mo shots of the Big Daddy, I mean long pile tufting machine working, so you guys can get like a better look at how everything is working. And also I wanted to show you how difficult it is to keep this machine like in the fabric, because it is so big. It is, to me, it's pretty heavy, and it'll do this where it will like give you a lot of kickback, and then it will like kind of push the fabric, and then it'll cut it. That is if it's difficult for you to keep the machine pushed in the fabric and the foot against it like it is for me. So how tufting machines work is the tip where you've threaded the yarn through is pulling the yarn through the fabric, and then the needle pulls back out of the fabric, and then the scissors go in and cut it on the other side. That is if it's a cut pile machine. If you've got a loop pile, then it's not going to be cutting it on the other side because it's going to be looping on the other side. I'm hypnotizing you into liking this video. Anyway, so this is what it looks like on the bottom side. This is also a good shot of why it's really important to oil up your machine, because look at all these moving parts. All right, now that you've seen the long pile in a little bit of action, here are some things that I just like to point out. Starting off with one that is very important. I don't think that the long pile is a great like machine for you to start with. If you're gonna get into tufting, like first time tufting, do not get one of these. This should not be your first time tufting machine. With that said, I would say that I am experienced. Would I say that I am a master? Absolutely not. So there are definitely some mistakes here that I'm going to be totally honest about, and I'm going to show you some close-up shots of them. So here they are. So this machine, for me, in my experience, it is very jostly. Like I said, there's quite the heavy kickback, especially compared to the regular tufting machine. And I think it's all in the kickback that the problem lies. As you can see in this clip, there are a lot of holes. Not like terrible, ruined the whole thing holes, obviously. Then I would be devastated. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's hard to control for me. So with all the experience that I've had, I've been doing this, I've been tufting for 2 years? 3? 2 and a half? Something like that, even with all of the experience. And I've also had this long pile for a little bit, and I've made a few pieces with it. So this isn't my first time tufting with it. I think it's decently more difficult to control. It kind of does what it wants. I think that in combination of it being so like so much heavier and so much more force that it just, you know, it kind of has like a mind of its own. So not only is it more difficult to like push in and keep it in from making those holes and like cutting the tufting fabric instead of just cutting the yarn on the other side, it's also hard to kind of like keep it where you want it to be. Again, this is all from my own experience, but that's what this video is for, right? And as with like all of these machines, you really need to get into the habit, if you're not already, of turning it off when, I mean, 1, when you're not using it, 2, especially when you're gonna be like either changing out the color of the yarn or like rethreading in any way. If your hands are up at that tip and you don't have it switched off, I highly suggest getting in the habit. I've never, because I turn it off mindlessly as well. I'm afraid of those scissors, and I think you should be as well. Anyway, let's continue on with this project. I'm so excited to see this thing done. Okay, it's down. All right, here is our fully 3D, super thick, shaggy rug. So obviously, as you can see, it definitely needs to be leveled at the very least. I'm kind of thinking, since it's so thick and shaggy, I kind of want it to stay that way. So I'm just barely gonna like level it. We're not carving deep. I just want to level it a little bit so that it's all kind of like even. And when you do that as well, it helps you like see the picture better, a little bit more crisp, clear. I could literally just like, all right, let's go glue down the edges of this rug. So whenever I cut my rugs off of the frame, I always try to leave about an inch of fabric like off of the actual edge of the tufted part. And then we give it the snips, and then we're going to lay down some hot glue, and then we're going to fold down these edges and like press them so that they're nice and secured. I believe this method is called the waterfall edge. And it is my preferred method for the edges because any other method, I'm too scared that it's going to fray. And this secures it nicely. Amazing. Our edges are glued. So now we need to back this. We need to glue down the stitches and we need to back it. And I recently changed up my process with this. Let's lay this on. This is a non-slip backing fabric. I'm just kind of trying to... Did I finish my sentence? I don't know if I did. I'm cutting like a rough shape of it. All right, so now we have our piece of backing ready to go. I'm going to slip on some gloves because we are going to be using this glue, which is a latex glue. I believe this is water-based. But this is the backing glue that I use. So I basically use one glue for gluing down the stitches and gluing the backing on. I have completely eliminated using a spray glue. Thank goodness. All right, y'all, let's bring out the goo. The stuff is so satisfying. The texture of it is just like frosting. It's lovely, especially to squish, squash in your hands with gloves on, of course. So I'm kind of just spreading the stuff around. One of my favorite parts of this stuff is that it doesn't really have much of an odor. Like, you know, obviously it has like a light ammonia smell, but compared to other carpet adhesives, this is absolutely nothing. Now, it is a latex glue, so if you have a latex allergy, I wouldn't suggest this glue, but there are other carpet adhesives. Although the other ones that I can think of may also be latex adhesives. I'm actually wondering now if they actually have to be latex because they need to be flexible, you know? Anyway, back to this rug. So I usually spread some glue all the way up to the edge, meaning I do spread some glue like over my folded edges to double secure those edges. Those edges are not coming up. Let me tell you that. All right. Once the glue is on there and it's had like a second, I take our piece of backing that we pre-cut. I'm gonna lay it on lightly, and this glue is This glue is so forgiving, whereas like spray glue, once you lay it down, it like will not come back up. So with this, it's just nice to be able to like lightly lay it down, see if it fits, and make sure that all of the edges are covering. And with spray glue, you just couldn't do that. I just start pressing it down to make sure everything is good. I just give it a nice roll to make sure it's all pressed down evenly. All right, now that it is all pressed on, I do need to give this 24 hours to dry a bit, and then we'll go around and do like clean up these edges and make them really nice and clean. We're gonna clean them so that they're clean. Hello and welcome to the next day. So it's glued, but you can see that these edges need to be...
I don't know what she's trying to think of, do you? Not a clue. Maybe tell the bedtime story? Maybe give it a big old smooch?
What about taking for a walk?
Secured.
Oh.
Gotta go slow and steady. Let's blast off.
Gotta blast.
Ta-da! We've done it. Okay, now it's gonna be much easier to peel up these edges and glue them down. So now we're gonna blast off again. Alright, so since this rug is kind of a bubble, I'm going to try to cut the edges so that it kind of like is rounded, if that makes sense. Instead of like all the yarn just kind of falling and like going down to the floor, I'm going to try to like round these edges a little bit. So I'm going to tuck my scissors, like the bottom part of my scissors. I'm going to tuck that under and then cut that very bottom layer shorter. So you're kind of at like an angle. I'm tucking that bottom one in, but I am at an angle. So tucking it in and we're at quite a bit of an angle. And I'm cutting that bottom layer shorter than all the rest. And then I'm going to push all the yarn kind of like forward. So now we kind of have this point where all the yarn being pushed down is kind of like sticking out. And I want to cut that at like a straight angle to just like literally cut off how long that part is so that it creates a nice rounded edge for our rug rather than it just all falling to the floor. So just for reference, this is where the edges were before we did this. This is what they looked like before. Crazy, wild. And this is what they look like after rounding them out. Amazing. I feel like it made it look more full somehow. All right, look at how like rounded and puffy. Look how huge. It looks amazing. The edges really like brought it together. So now I think final step actually is we're gonna go through and level this whole thing and make it look crisp and perfect. So I'm kind of just like, since I want it to stay, you know, super puffy 3D, like I'm not really trying to take length off, I'm kind of just hovering very lightly over the top. Alright, enough funnies. Y'all, we made it. We made a fully 3D, like, huge puffy rug. And you know what? I have an example for you. This is usually how thick a rug is with a regular piled tufting machine. And this is how thick and luscious this 3D rug is. I can't like take my hands off of it. It's so like lush is the perfect word for it. It feels kind of like luxurious and huge and thick, and I can't believe I've never made a fully 3D rug like this. And I love our design. The swirl is so cool. whether you see it as a bubble or just a swirl, just admit that it's cool. So with these long pile rugs, I mean, you saw when we were finished it, there's a lot of like, you know, what do you call them? Flyaways? You know, the few that like to stick out. And once you level everything, you can kind of go around with your hands and kind of brush it around, and some will still come out, which I find happens way more with long pile machines rather than like a regular pile height. And honestly, I think that's due to, since the yarn is so long, it's pushing way more yarn to the other side than with a regular pile machine. So some get squished, sometimes the fabric gets cut, so like that little like piece of yarn will come out. It's just not as tightly like compact as a regular pile rug is. You know, because you can like swirl this around and it has movement and it's all, you know what I'm saying? And like with these, there is none of that. You know what I mean? Like it's so short and compact, and so this is a little bit looser and stuff, so I think that's why it comes out. So if your rugs do that, if you make a like long pile rug, if you have little sections where you do long pile, don't freak out. It happens. As long as you've done like a good carpet adhesive on the back, you should be good, and just kind of be good about, you know, running your hands on it and then vacuuming it will pull any like loose pieces of yarn up. I'm very proud of this rug. I'm so proud of it. My bubble. And with that, I'm going to end this video here. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about tufting, any kind of like techniques you would like for me to show you, I feel like I have a little bit of a list in my mind. Like I would love to show you guys different, hello? I'm being attacked by like a phantom spider or something. Anyway, I want to show you like different blending styles that you could do for like shading in your rugs. So yeah, let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to see. We're back doing tutorial style videos and like more of this, everything that you just watched, more of this. This video, I've already started editing it at this point in time. I'm having so much fun editing it and like making it fun again, and I just, now that my videos are fun. Anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? So let me know what you think of my return to tutorial style videos. And with that, I love y'all to absolute death, and I'll see you in the next video.